Hola estudiantes! Here we are again. Preterito o imperfecto? Now this is the true question of Spanish that you are going to be asking yourself for the rest of your Spanish year. If you remember way back to last chapter, we talked about the imperfect tense, which was describing a situation, and we used it very basically for saying things that you used to do. Siempre nos reunimos para días festivos, so we always used to get together for holidays. Or mis primos y yo jugábamos mucho. We used to play together. So this is a very simple beginning to how we use that.
In addition to saying what someone used to do, the imperfect tense is used to describe in the past, so to describe people, places, and situations. La casa de mis abuelos era enorme. Tenía 5 dormitorios.
It's also used when you're going to talk about a past action or situation that has no specific beginning or end, like había mucha gente en la casa para el aniversario de mis abuelos. There were a lot of people there. So that being a lot of people, that doesn't have a beginning or end. That's not like an action.
Yeah, I think it's more like a description.
Yeah, I would say that's just like the previous slide on description.
So again, we use the imperfect to describe a situation, okay? So sometimes we use it to describe the situation or background information when something else happened or interrupted the ongoing action. In these cases, the imperfect tense is used to tell what someone was doing when something happened. So in this case, the preterite interrupts the ongoing imperfect action. Todos mis parientes bailaban cuando llegamos. All of my relatives were dancing when we arrived.
Yeah, so it's like setting the scene for what's about to interrupt.
Right, and one way to think about this in English is the imperfect is kind of like was-ing or were-ing in Spanish.
Yeah. Another use is to tell the time or what the weather was like. And once again, I see this as description of what was going on at the time. Eran las 5 de la mañana y llovía mucho cuando el accidente ocurrió. So it was 5 o'clock in the morning and it was raining. And if you notice, there's some more preterite because then all of a sudden the action that happened is preterite. So setting of the scene is imperfect.
Okay, kids, so to summarize, so far we've seen the imperfect used to talk about weather in the past, to tell time in the past, to describe in the past, and now, something new, we also use it to talk about feelings and emotions in the past. So let's take a look at our example. Muchas personas querían ayudar a la familia, pero no sabían qué hacer. Many people wanted to help the family, but they didn't know what to do. So wanting and knowing, those aren't actions. Those are kind of emotions and feelings. So we're going to use the imperfect for emotions and feelings in the past.
All that description and lovey. We also have a list here of a few of the verbs that almost always, not always, use the imperfect because they're describing states of being. Like estar, yo estaba muy triste, or parecía cansado, he looked tired, or he looked bad, like he was sick. Pensar, querer, sentirse, tener. So tener calor, to be hot, to be cold, that's describing yourself. Sentirse is describing how you feel. Querer and pensar are what you think or want. So those are, again, your emotional states.
Okay, so let's take a look at había and hubo. You guys know that the verb I, H-A-Y, in the present tense means there is or there are. So now we have había in the imperfect and hubo in the preterite, and they mean different things. So we use había to describe a situation that existed in the past. So if you look at the example, había mucho humo en el apartamento. There was a lot of smoke in the apartment. So we're describing, we're using había, the imperfect. Now hubo is used for an event, or mostly an event.
It's something that takes place at one moment in time.
Right. So, for example, hubo un terremoto ayer a las 6 de la mañana. There was an earthquake yesterday at 6 in the morning. So that was an event. So we're using hubo, the preterite.
Beginning and end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this page, we are not going to read through everything. So the book is really concentrating on usos del imperfecto, but we want you to know that obviously there's the other side to this, which is usos del preterito. When would you use the preterite? We're not going to read through. Now would be a great time to pause, look through this, and find some examples. But just to go over, a lot of preterite is completed past actions. You have a beginning, you have an end. It's something that happened, and it is done.
This would be a good time to pause and take some notes.
práctica.
So now we want you guys to do some practice to help kind of figure out when you would use the preterite and when you would use the imperfect. So we want you to write out 4 sentences in English, that's okay, of examples when you would use the preterite and examples of when you would use the imperfect. For example, I don't want you guys to use this one, but yesterday I went to the supermarket. Yesterday, that happened yesterday. We know it was a one-time action recently. If I wanted to say an imperfect example, I would say, when I was younger, I always played with dolls. It's clear that it was something that happened continually and that it was a while ago. So it shows 2 distinctions between the preterite and imperfect. We're going to use these in class tomorrow to practice and review.
Yep, so be prepared to share them, write them down so you can get credit.
Adios, amigos.
Adios.